Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is, of course, HD StarCraft, and how are you guys all doing today? And I'm here to bring you guys another Heart of the Swarm broadcast. And today I'm really excited because we're going to be looking at two extremely talented players. And let's go ahead and introduce the Zerg player up here in the top left-hand corner of Acheron Wastes first. His name is Blade, and if you guys recall, I casted a couple of games of him already. The one that stands out to me most was Blade versus Muslim. If you guys haven't seen that game, definitely go check it out. Blade is a pretty big poster on Team Liquid, and he's a very talented Zerg player from the replays I've seen, and he's definitely been working on his game here in Heart of the Swarm. So very excited, and especially excited because his opponent is going to be one of the premier Korean pros here. It is going to be LGIM.Seed, and Seed is an extremely talented Protoss player, many to consider to be one of the best right now in Korea, and very cool that he's playing Heart of the Swarm here, because this is going to be pitting one of Korea's finest. And no doubt he probably hasn't been playing Heart of the Swarm as much as he's been playing Wings of Liberty, because all the money is in Wings of Liberty, but he's practicing Heart of the Swarm, and that's smart because, you know, so many tournaments have already said, for example, MLG, they've already announced that their next tournament is going to be featuring Heart of the Swarm, and so it's very prudent here. It's intelligent. It's smart for the pros to go ahead and practice the next upcoming game, because they know as soon as the expansion is released next month, most of the major tournaments are going to be making a switch over to Heart of the Swarm, and you're going to want to start to get your feet wet right now before it's too late. You know, you want to start climbing that ladder and start to get good and get familiar with all the new units, all the abilities here that are available, and this is just going to be so exciting. And really, the only other top-tier Protoss player that I ever get to cast is Whiterun. And you know what? Whiterun is good. He's good. Don't get me wrong. But Seed is damn good. So this is going to be too cool, and I can't wait to see how this game is going to go down. Blade, obviously, don't want to, you know, I don't want to leave him out or anything. He's very talented, but does he have enough skills here to take out Seed? Now, I think the one thing Blade's got going for him is he's been practicing Heart of the Swarm to a very large extent. I know he's been playing a lot of games, and he's been posting a lot of his replays, so he's been playing basically ever since the beta went live, and he might have that experience to overcome obviously the better mechanics of Seed, but we'll just have to see. This is going to be, of course, a Zerg versus Protoss, and I'm so excited to see how this is going to go down. Overlord now going to be going down to the bottom right-hand corner, flying over Seed's base. It did go over the Nexus and, of course, over the gateway at the front door. So for now, Blade now realizes what is going on at Seed's natural expansion. Back at home, Seed does have two assimilators coming out. That's going to be sniffed out by this Overlord. Once it gets in position, we do have additional hatcheries coming out for Blade. You'll note, as a Zerg player, he's occupying the hatchery, not at this location, but rather at this location. On Acheron Wastes, I'm a big in favor of going for the hatchery at the outside of your base, not at the inside, because it's almost impossible for a Zerg player to break down these rocks and get the hatchery here in a really quick amount of time, and it doesn't really afford you that much extra security. If anything, it's actually harder to hold off frontal attacks. You'd much rather just start to get your creep spread going down the ramp and out towards the enemy player's base, and so that's why most Zerg players do go for the hatchery over here, even though that might go against common sense and going over here. Anyways, here, a former champion of the GSL Seed here. What is he going to be up to? He does have Chrono Boost dropping down on the cybernetics core and on the gateway. It looks like he wants to rush out that initial stalker. And does have a mothership core coming out right now as well. Love to see how Seed is going to do with this mothership core. Like I said before, most Protoss players have been experimenting with being aggressive with the mothership core. You can even see the rally point already set for Seed here, but it's not set all the way out, just set over to the third. Now, the one thing about the mothership core against Zerg is you have to be careful, because the queens are actually really good at just pushing the mothership core away. They won't ever kill it unless you're just completely absent-minded. But typically the mothership core by herself isn't all that good in a battle against the Zerg economy. But if you back it up with a few stalkers or a zealot or two, And that can change things in a jiffy, and you can see the time warp fields coming down and helping out the battle for the Protoss player. We'll see if Seed decides to do that. It does look like he's coming out right now. He has sniped out one of the Zerglings at the Xel'Naga tower, and of course, because he pushed the Zergling away from the tower, Blade is not going to see the Mothership Core coming in here. Now, it does look like Blade has a Queen, and so with the Zerglings and the Queen here, I think he'll be okay. Probably won't have to worry too much about that attack. On the production tab, still trying to get used to reading this because it's a little weird now, but we do have a Roach Warren coming out right now from Blade. Does he have a lair yet? Not yet. That is interesting. He's staying on hatchery tech right now, and he's actually researching burrow. If you guys recall, in a patch a week ago, the burrow research was made available at tier 1, no longer requiring tier 2. And so Zerg players have kind of been experimenting around with that a little bit, but actually Blade ends up canceling the burrow research. I guess he wanted to get the gas for Zergling speed instead of burrow. That's interesting. So, no, there we go. He gets burrow once again. So, I'm not too sure what Blade is doing right now. Apparently, he's going to stay on tier 1 tech, and I'm guessing here, it's 8 minutes in now, he's planning to do some type of burrow attack with Zerglings and Roaches, but he really does need to get layer tech started sooner rather than later. This is a very, very late layer upgrade. It's 8 minutes and 30 seconds now. Most Zerg players start layer around 7 minutes in, but here comes the layer. It is going to start right now at 8 minutes 45 seconds now. I say most Zerg players start layer at 7 minutes because that's usually what you see in Wings of Liberty, but Heart of the Swarm has kind of thrown everything in a state of funk. No one really knows what's standard yet, so you know, we'll see what happens here, but he is getting the layer now, and he's obviously going to have Roaches and Zerglings with speed. What about Seed, though? Seed is breaking down the rocks right now. He's going to try to, obviously, open up the pathway towards his 3rd expansion, and he does have Blink being researched right now on the Twilight Council. A couple of gateways back at home. And for now, no real crazy action yet. Blade is starting to secure his 4th hatchery as he sends a couple of Zerglings on the rocks to take those down. A couple more macro hatcheries coming up, as well as a Spore Crawler just to defend against Phoenixes, Warp Prisms, Dark Templar, whatever Protoss decide to throw over at that expansion. A Spore Crawler is always a good idea. We do have a Phoenix coming in. This is a hallucinated Phoenix, though, so it's not real, but it can be used for scouting intel. And we do have a Spire coming up back behind the lair, so this is a great Phoenix scout from Seed, because now he's going to see, alright, you're going for lair, or you're going for Spire, and obviously I've got to keep my ears open, I've got to keep my eyes open for potential Corruptor play here. But it's interesting that Blade went for the Spire this quickly. Most Zerg players don't rush the Spire like this right away, but I have been seeing a build coming out from Heart of the Storm players, Zerg players in particular, and Katz was kind of playing around with it for a bit. The Swarm Host Corruptor composition is actually really, really strong, and if that's what Blade is going for here, the early Spire is actually not a bad idea at all. We do have a lot of Zerglings coming around here trying to get us around, but the force fields pop out, and that prevents the Zerglings from getting the concave and allows these units to retreat. But anyways, as I was saying before, the early Spire could be used. Yeah, we do have Swarmos coming, as well as Evolve Enduring Locusts on the Infestation Pit. And now, the reason why you need to get an early Spire is because you need Corruptors to back up the Swarm Hosts. Without Corruptor backup for Swarm Hosts, they're actually really vulnerable to Tempest, Void Rays, Phoenixes, even a Mothership Core can fly in and take them out. So you need to be able to back it up with Corruptors, and I think that's why he's gone for the early Spire here, but for so far, don't see any Corruptors coming out quite yet. We do have Seed coming with an attack here. This is basically a Warp Gate attack of a lot of Stalkers and whatnot, but here comes the Swarm Host. They burrow down, and the Locusts are now starting to pop out, and these Locusts are going to help so much. More Swarm Hosts popping out just in the nick of time. They're going to burrow underground as well, and it looks like Seed, he doesn't have an Observer here, so he cannot see the forces. Of course, the Mothership Core does not have an ability to detect anymore. He needs to bring an Observer or an Oracle to see what's going on here, but he doesn't care. He's going to take out the hatchery. Now he's going to go ahead and pull back. So Seed says, alright, I know you've got burrowed menaces waiting underground, and they're popping out these Locusts and whatnot, but it's okay. I'm sniping out your hatch, I'm pulling out, and I'm recalling my whole army back home. So mission accomplished right there. And he had an exit strategy. That's more than you can say for the real world. But there is Seed, man. He gets out. Great job right there, and perfect attack. Now he's just got to probably get an observer out in order to obviously combat the Swarm Host, and we do have observers now being made out of the robotics facility. Very smart, and that's obviously to counter the Swarm Host here. Good idea. Thankfully for Blade, it's like he doesn't really need to get the Corruptors, which would actually eat into his Swarm Host production, because Corruptors eat up a lot of gas. The reason why I say he doesn't need to get any Corruptors is, honestly, the Protoss army is just entirely stalker based. There aren't any air units, there aren't any Colossus or anything like that. He can actually stay on Swarm Host Roach Zergling here for some time. We'll see how effective this is going to be. Force Field's coming down here now. Of course, the Protoss army does have an observer here this time, and so Seed can see the burrowed Swarm Host. He is going to push the Swarm Host away, and that's very smart of Blade. After the Locusts spawn out, retreat. Burrow them back down once the Locusts are ready to go. That's how you want to play with Swarm Hosts. You don't want to just leave them idling by, because then they're basically useless when they're underground. And so here we have the Force Fields coming out from Seed, really trying to prevent the swarm of Zerg units, and he is going to be able to push forward. He blinks beyond the force fields, and he's going to go for a couple of snipes on these Swarm Hosts here. It looks like Blade in a lot of trouble. He's pulling back, and this is what happens when you fight against a professional, former champion of the GSL, LGIM.Seed, man. He is so freaking good, and he's going to go ahead and now fall back. So he says, all right, I know when I've overextended, that's way too many Locusts and Zerglings and whatnot, and I don't want to risk my life here in this game just trying to overextend. So he pulls back, which is smart. And on the production tab here, we do have a Fleet Beacon, a Stargate, so pretty soon, remember I said those Corruptors, you're going to need them when the Protoss goes for air, which is a great counter to Swarm Hosts. Well, that realization might just come true, because we have a Fleet Beacon, we have Stargates here. No doubt the Tempest could be coming out pretty soon here, and that's when you need to start making some Corruptors in order to counter that type of army composition. It does look like we have Blade once again going in, but the Protoss army just easily blinks back. That's the advantage you get when you are Protoss. You do have a couple of spells that you can utilize to get out of harm's way. Mothership Recall, Blink, you've got a lot of abilities here, and Seed is just utilizing beautifully. Right now he is at +3. The upgrades for the Zerg player are at 2-2, and that is for ranged and melee, so pretty good upgrades actually for the Zerg player. But overall, obviously, obviously right now, I think Seed is holding just a slight advantage. He does have 4 bases, 1, 2, 3, 4. Love the photon cannon setup over at the 4th base here. That's just, you know, just a preliminary setup to help buy time in case an army does come and attack that expansion. Meanwhile, Blade is trying to go for another hatchery. I do love this map, Akalon Waste, man. It just allows you to go into full-on Berserker macro mode, and it really lends itself into some pretty epic games. We do have Ultralisks on the way. Neuroparasite is being researched at the Infestation Pit as well. Now, the Ultralisks can be the game breaker here, because while Stalkers are good, and yeah, you can blink out of the way and kite all day long, Ultras just do so much damage, and they're doing it in an AoE fashion. The Ultras, if they can complement these Swarm Hosts, and if the Infestors can get some pretty good fungals, man, this game can really change in a jiffy. And at this point, it's actually pretty close. If you look at the money for both players, they have a great bank, and here we go. It looks like Seed overextending, and Blade gets a fungal, but that's what you do. If you get caught with Protoss, you just recall on out of there, and the majority of the Protoss forces make it back home safe and sound. Looks like they went back over to the 3rd Nexus, and that's all you got to do, really. Great play right there from Seed, and this is how Protoss players are approaching the game of StarCraft 2 right now. You don't need to move out until your Mothership Core has enough energy to use a Mothership Recall, and I think it's 150 energy, so it's not that much energy. It's actually only 100, so they can actually save up for 2 recalls if you want it. But yeah, you just wait and then use the recall when you feel it's safe, and don't push out unless you have enough energy for a recall. So it's really smart here from Seed. But look at this army from Blade. He's even incorporated Banelings now. Wow. The Banelings don't have speed quite yet, but when they're mixed in with the Locusts, since they go at the same speed, they really have an easy time getting in there, because the Locusts will divert the fire from the Banelings. But here we go. It looks like Blade trying to work his way in here. Great Psionic Storm's coming down, though. The Storm just ripping through the Ultras and the Locusts. There's a Neuroparasite on a couple of Colossus. This is an incredible game. It looks like Blade is still trying to push through, but the Tempests here are going to prove to be too much of a problem, because how is he going to ever push without any way to shoot back against the Tempest. That's just an air unit that's proving to be too dominant. It looks like he's going to wait for the Locusts to come in, but of course Locusts only attack ground. They don't attack air anymore. So Blade needs to pull these Swarm Hosts away, but he's not paying attention, and a lot of Swarm Hosts going to go down here to the Stalkers. Unfortunate right there, because if he had been paying attention to that location, he probably would have pulled his Swarm Hosts away and saved the majority of his army, but that was a crippling blow, eating into his surplus here. And obviously Seed has a 3.5k bank, plenty of, not that much gas, but he's got plenty more minerals than the Zerg player does, and that last battle couldn't have went any better for Seed, who's now making his way over to the 12 o'clock position. No, he's actually going to fall back and go back over to the right. Look at the APM. The EPM for those these players is insane, 317 and 213 right now. But Seed, it looks like he's just going to be content to go over to the top right after he picks off this Bro Zergling. There we go. Then he's going to be able to drop his Nexus down and establish a 5th base. Incredible right now. 5 base Protoss to a 6 base Zerg, actually. So Blade is, you know, he's not out of it by any means, but he desperately needs to be making Corruptors right now, and he needs to get Corruptor upgrades. He's only got Flyer attacks level 1, and it's not finished yet. It's only now just started. So I feel like right now it's kind of hard to juggle going for a good ground army and getting enough Corruptors to stop this type of Tempest fleet. I almost feel like at this point, maybe instead of going for Corruptors, maybe he should just go for Hydras, because they share the upgrades with the Roaches and the Locusts, and indeed he does have a Hydralisk Den starting right now, but he already made a bunch of Corruptors, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But certainly a lot of speed Hydras right now wouldn't be a bad idea, because there's only a few Colossus. He's just got to dodge the storm. And here comes Seed. He's going up to the 12 o'clock, snipes out that hatchery, no problem. And all the drones here are going to, actually a couple of them burrowing down to hide from the unstoppable Protoss army. And Seed just says, all right, mission accomplished. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull back once again. And yeah, Seed just doing an incredible job. You'll note he saved up a ton of energy on the Mothership core, so at any point he can recall this army out if things start to get hairy. Blade having pretty good creep spread in the middle of the map, but he just lost a hatchery at the 12 o'clock position, and I feel like right now, the pressure is on Blade. He's trying to figure out a way to stop this army composition. The Swarm Hosts obviously didn't work. Now he's transitioning into basically tier 3. Does he have enough tier 3 forces to rip through this army? Last battle, the Psionic Storm just ate him up alive. This time, will he be able to dodge the storms and get up in the thick of things before most of his forces take heavy damage? He's got to go in now. He's got the concave set up, but the Protoss army is just waiting at the choke point. Here we go. The Templar in the front. Oh, they get cleaved down, but they drop a lot of storms before they go down. Now the Ultra's in the mix, and it looks like they are going to be able to rip through the Protoss ground army. Incredible game right here. Blade with the maxed out Ultralisk just says he doesn't care, and the Stalker's now blinking, fleeing up to the high ground for fear of the Ultras and their massive claws. And now it looks like it's just down to the Tempest and Corruptors fighting out the remnants of this battle, but the Tempest will win here. That's in part due to the heavy upgrades that they do have. These Ultras now need to pull back, retreat over to their queens, get a couple of transfuses going, and you know, get ready for the next fight. But that was a great battle for Blade. I actually thought at this point that the game was over for him, but I didn't want to obviously say it, but he actually did a great job of going in there and taking out the entire Protoss ground-based army. But now the problem is Seed has this huge bank of minerals, and when a Protoss has a huge bank of minerals, guess what they're making? They're making a lot of Zealots, a lot of Charge Lots in fact, and here we go. The Zealots are out, the Charge Lots are here and ready to go, and that's of course because he has so many Warp Gates back at home, and Ultras are not very good against Charge Lots. They're okay, they're not terrible, but they're not incredible either. Here we go, he gets the Nexus down, and I can't tell what's happening right now. Oh, okay, so my computer just froze right there, but it looks like he is going to get the Nexus down, but the force is actually recalled in time before the Nexus fell. It's kind of a weird mechanic with the Mothership recall, but here comes Blade. He's now pulling back. He's going to try to go back in once again. He's got to be careful. He will finish off that Mothership core with the fungal growth, and now retreats back onto the creep, and he's going to be able to zoom on out of there, even though the Charge Lots are chasing him back. Zerg units on creep are just, you know, they're like on roller skates. It can get out very quickly. But that was a great play by Blade. you know, after taking out a large chunk of the Protoss army, he goes for the Nexus Snipe. He takes it down, even though the Protoss Seed recalled with his Mothership Core, which was a great idea. It just was a hair too late, and as a result, the Nexus did go down. But now, what is Blade going to do? Because we do have this army of Charge Rods going down to the bottom right-hand corner, where Blade is obviously struggling to make any sorts of mineral income. He's trying to make ends meet right now, and obviously he sent some of his Ultras down here. Ultras, like I said before, they're not terrible, but they're not great against Zealots. Back in the days, they were absolutely terrible against Zealots, but now they do damage to, you know, they don't just do damage to armored, so they can fight off Zealots pretty easily. But here comes Seed. He's going down to the bottom. He picks off the hatchery and finishes it off, and Seed, you know, he's just got such a great army. He still hasn't lost any of his Tempest, and the Tempest fleet continues to get larger and larger. He's now getting plus 3 weapons for air. He's got 3 Tempests being produced at a time. The Tempest fleet, I think, might be the eventual undoing of Blade, but he's got so many Corruptors and so many Infestors underneath. It's really hard to say. If Blade can get a lot of Infested Terrans out and then lock down those Tempests with the Fungal, then he might have a chance at taking out that fleet of Protoss air. But we'll have to see. We can see, obviously, the Ultras, they don't fare so well against Tempests. They don't really want to fight that army, and it looks like Blade has to pull back once again. It's just too scary for him to fight against. It looks like he is going to fight on the ramp here, but he's got to be careful. That Storm doing so much damage. He's going to go in, though. He says he doesn't care, and he gets Neural Parasites off. He's launching a bunch of Neurals down. Does he have enough? Some of the Infestors getting feedback there, but it looks like Blade might have enough to take out this army, thanks to Neural Parasite gripping the Tempest and forcing control over to the Zerg player, but his Ultras all going down as they try to run into the reinforcing Stalkers, and he has to pull back once again. 155 supply to 113 right now. This game is incredibly close, but Seed just barely holds on to the 6 o'clock. If you guys look at the minimap right now, all bases are occupied on Akalon Wastes. It's split right down the center line. And if you look at the bank and the minerals, both players are running pretty low. We have a player that has just joined the game. I'm not too sure what's going on with that. So that's apparently something to do with the new replay system, so I'm not too sure what the deal is with that. But Blade goes in, and it looks like he is going to try to end the game here. Will he have enough to do so? You know what I think might have happened is possibly Seed. I see what happened here. So Seed actually ended up leaving the game, and this was a replay that was picked up by 2 different players who just joined in at this moment. So it's a little confusing, I think, with the new replay setup. But apparently now Seed has been replaced by a different player. He is no longer Seed, but now he is Ninbob. But for the first 30 minutes of the game, that was Blade versus Seed, and now I guess Blade has retaken control of his forces, and Seed apparently left the game or something, and now he's being controlled by a brand new player. Of course, in the new replay functionality of StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm, you are able to take control of a replay at any point and play as whatever the player was at and take control of that current moment in time. But so the first 30 minutes of this replay basically was Blade versus Seed, but now I think it's over. Blade is now in dominant control of this game. Of course, Seed is no longer Seed, he's now Ninnob, and he's obviously nowhere near as talented as Seed, and I think Blade is now going to go ahead and polish it off. So a bit of a weird conclusion right there, but I definitely feel like Blade was in control of this game. GG has been called. And that should be it. Just waiting for Ninnob or Seed or whoever it is to leave the game, and there it is. So he has left the game, and Blade is victorious. So an incredible Zerg versus Protoss right there. The first 30 minutes was just absolutely jaw-dropping and insanely high skill level from both players. Seed just fighting it on, and then I guess eventually the game was crashed or something. Obviously he's playing from Korea, but I guess at the 30-minute mark something must have happened where he was forced out of the game, and then Blade tried to replay the game, resume the replay, and I guess his friend decided to join in and play as Seed, and the replay that eventually got uploaded was that actual replay, not the original, so that's what we had happen here. So, hope you guys enjoyed the game. Once again, if you guys know anybody who's playing Heart of the Swarm, or watch any of the streamers playing at a very high level, feel free to go ahead and have them send in their replays to me at HDreplays@gmail.com. If you guys enjoyed what you see, make sure to subscribe. I'm at youtube.com/HDStarcraft, as well as Facebook and Twitter. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I've got a lot more games for you guys here in Heart of the Swarm. I've got actually a lot of games of Blade that I want to go ahead and cast. Incredible matches. So hope you guys enjoyed, hope you guys are looking forward to it, and I'll see you guys in the next broadcast. This is HD StarCraft, and I am signing out.